Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 120 of Be With Me. This is a 7-minute thought today about meekness. And I think sometimes the biggest highfalutin spiritual concepts can be illustrated best in little stories, which I have one today for you. Here's our passage. It's from Mt5 5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So yesterday I was taking care of a 2-year-old, and this 2-year-old was distressed, afraid, confused, crying. Okay, so that in the picture is us. And there's a couple ways you can approach a 2-year-old. You can either come at them with power and yell at them and say, stop crying. For any of you who have ever worked with a 2-year-old, that is a terrible idea. It doesn't work. So I chose a different tact with this young person. I picked her up. I was gentle. I basically, by my adultness, said, I have the strength to help you. But not only do I have the strength to help you, I have the gentleness, the meekness to approach you and allow you to trust me and be approachable. So I think this is an excellent illustration of what meekness is. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And we've been looking at what characteristics are friends of ours when we are friends of Jesus. We've looked at blessed are the poor, or those who have the posture of poverty. Blessed are those who mourn in grief, with a good grief, looking towards the future. And today it's about meekness. Now, this is not a new concept. Jesus didn't just drop this on them. This is actually almost a quote from Psalm 37:11. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace. And mercy, or meekness, is a primary bent of God's heart. God is meekness. He is gentle. He is humble with us. And he says in Matthew 11, this made me think of this, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Now here's the thing. This Greek word for meekness is also the same word that is used in that passage of gentleness. It's only mentioned a couple times in the Bible. First is today in the Sermon on the Mount, where the Greek word is translated as meekness. And then the verse I just told you from Matthew 11, that's translated gentleness. And then in Matthew 21, it's translated as humility. It's the same characteristic that Peter encourages wives to have, this beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. So this word of meekness or gentleness or humility is the concept that we're going for here today. And it is the disposition of God that should be ours. It's a best way I could define it maybe is like this power and reserve. And it's the underlying fundamental characteristic of Jesus. And if you ask what Jesus's heart is like, you have to come up with the answer of meekness, of gentleness. Recommend strongly Dane Ortland's book, Gentle and Lowly. Chapter 1 of this talks all about this. And this describes a God who is so strong that he can be gentle. He has endless power, but he packages it in an approachable characteristic. He lowers himself so that he can be accessible and that we can be attractive to him, number one, and then we can access all this wonderful stuff that he has. And this gentleness is not some sort of like an applied characteristic. It's his essence. It's his DNA. And our inclination, of course, is to say, no. This is not a good thing. We want a severe and we want a God like us. We want a God who's, angry and wrathful. And rather, I think what it's telling us here in the Beatitudes is we should be like the God who is not like us. So he has an infinitude, says Dane Ortland, of gentleness, of meekness. We are enjoying the meekness and gentleness and the humility of God right now. Now, we won't always do that. At a moment in time, everybody's going to bow down, whether they want to or not, and he's going to kind of flip the coin and express his strength in a very powerful way. But today we get to enjoy his meekness. So the teaching point is, yes, I want you to be meek today. And I want you to be meek in admiration of the Lord. So that's our meditation this morning. That's the word you should pin to your jacket today, is meekness. And maybe in word be meek today in response to someone who you feel like offends you. I have two Christians that continually complain to me of their own driving. Maybe you could be meek in driving. Maybe you could be meek in attitude of heart. Maybe you could be meek in service. So I want to go back to my picture today, the story today, in meekness. Let's think about the Lord accessing us in his powerful adultness and comforting us and approaching us in a way that we can receive him. And that is this meekness. And yes, he's powerful and he is the adult in the room spiritually, but we need him because we're the 2-year-old who is distressed and crying and afraid. And Jesus doesn't approach us, at least not now, in the yell at us and say, stop crying. He picks us up gently and assures us that he has strength, yes, but he has this gentleness that we want his winsomeness through his meekness. So let's be like Jesus today in meekness. I will see you tomorrow.